Welcome to the Jerusalem Connection Red Alert Report. I'm Amy Zawi. Thank you for joining us for this two-part interview series with Malcolm Hedding to examine and expose the history of the Durban Conference, also known as the UN World Conference to Combat Racism. Malcolm Hedding, expert on the topic, shares his wisdom about the history and ramifications of the Durban Conference just now having its 20-year anniversary event. Learn why it is anti-Semitic and why Christians and all those who support Israel and Jews should be keen to its intent and outcomes.
Until we get to the conference that is taking place now, in these days, this is, of course, Durban 4. And this constituted another attempt to bring these matters together and somehow launch another major attack on Israel. Because for them, the climate worldwide is good, because antisemitism is growing everywhere from continent to continent. I mean, today I'm also a United States citizen, so I understand that even in our beloved country, there is this growing antisemitism everywhere. And I saw a report today that Jews are still the most attacked people and vilified people in the United States of America of any minority. So that's a very sad thing.
It's very sad.
So that's what happened up until today. Now, this conference now actually has turned out to be a lame duck. And for that, we give thanks to God. So we see the hand of God in doing something all the time to push back the enemies of Israel. And I believe this for sure, beginning with Durban 1 and now with Durban 4, because 11 nations, crucial nations, most important nations in the world, have abandoned Durban 4. And that is quite astonishing. And we can look at some of them. I can read them off for you.
Oh, that'd be great.
These are nations like the United States of America has withdrawn. We thank God for that. Amen.
Amen.
And Canada has withdrawn. France has withdrawn. Austria has withdrawn. The United Kingdom has withdrawn. Hungary has withdrawn. And Australia has withdrawn. The Netherlands has withdrawn. Israel has withdrawn. The Czech Republic has withdrawn. And just a day or two ago, Germany.
Oh, wow. Great.
So this means the conference actually has dwindled to hot air.
Nobody's showing up, right?
Thank God for that. But that doesn't mean that the enemies of Israel have laid down their weapons and are not seeking to mount another attempt to do the three things.
Absolutely.
This is the threefold strategy: discredit, delegitimize, dismantle. And the charge was that's what happened to South Africa, and rightfully so in a way. In
a different circumstance, it was legitimate. Yes,
but they've used the system in South Africa to smear Israel, and it's a very emotive word, apartheid. Very emotive.
Yeah. So what should we know as believers, as Christians who are supporting Jewish people worldwide and their right to live unharmed without discrimination, and supporters of the nation of Israel? What can we take away from looking at this history? Also acknowledging that BDS strain of it, which I report on often, is really infecting our universities and our curriculums now, even into the K-12 curriculums.
That's true, and thankfully, state after state in the USA has stood up in many circumstances and forbidden BDS to be promoted in their borders, which is a very gratifying thing. But BDS is a powerful movement of anti-Semitism. It is ideologically based, and it's based on a lot of lies and things that are just not true concerning Israel and the Jewish people. I think we need to understand, our viewers need to understand that this is part of the age-old attempt by the powers of darkness to delegitimize, dismantle, and destroy the Jewish people. And because of the central role that they've held in God's program of world redemption. So it's not surprising. And of course, for our viewers who are Christian, the book of Revelation pictures Israel as a woman clothed with the sun, the moon, and the stars, but she's pregnant. And that's a reference to Joseph's dream in Genesis 37, where he and his brothers were 12 stars and his mother and father were the sun and the moon. But the interesting thing about the picture of Revelation 12 is that she's pregnant, meaning she births God's purpose into the world. And immediately after that picture is presented to us, another picture is presented, and it's this satanic reality, a dragon with 7 heads standing before the woman to liquidate her. And I think this is the story of Israel. And anti-Semitism and her great suffering through the ages is rooted in the fact that she carries in her historical journey the redemptive initiative for the world. Isn't that amazing? It's not surprising, because God did say to Abraham, in you and the people flowing from you, all the nations of the earth will be blessed.
Wow.
And if there's anything the devil resists, it's the people of Israel, the Jewish people. And in a sense, this war will continue until finally Israel is vindicated, and she will be.
Right.
When the Messiah comes and puts his feet on the Mount of Olives. So, in a way, there's one part of it is we can only battle it through prayer and biblical truth, because it's like a chameleon. It changes color all the time. It's moving. If it's not BDS, then it's something else, and it's the Durban Conference, then it's a UN resolution. It just moves all the time. And that's why John saw a dragon with 7 heads. In other words, representing the great Gentile empires of the world. It's changing all the time. Same devil behind it. And that reminds me, of course, of, and I'm sure you know it well, Psalm 83, where the psalmist calls upon God not to be silent, but to intervene on behalf of Israel and the Jewish people. It says this: do not keep silent, O God. Do not hold your peace. Do not be still, O God, for behold, your enemies make a tumult, and those who hate you have lifted up their head. They have taken crafty counsel against your people and consulted together against your sheltered ones. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be remembered no more. So the hatred of God actually is vented against the Jewish people. And we see this throughout history.
Exactly.
They become the symbol of God in the world, the reminder that they are accountable to him. Through the word that they produce, the Bible, the Messiah they birthed into the world, and their present pilgrimage and the restoration of their state. Wonderful. But the powers of darkness don't agree with us.
Fight it all the way. Yep. And we know ultimately the power of darkness loses. Yeah. But that doesn't absolve us to what we need to do, which is prayer and support, however, in our niche of the world, wherever we may live.
Yes, exactly. And that's what you're doing.
Yes.
Very powerful. We thank God for you and the place you take in this battle. It's so important that we too have many arms and many troops on the ground to counter this incredible onslaught against the Jewish people. Right. And even more so now as we think of the holy holidays entering into with Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and Sukkot, and all wonderful symbols and teachings on this glorious redemptive plan that God brought through Israel to the world. How blessed we are because of the Jewish people. No wonder Jesus said salvation is of the Jews. Right. In John chapter 4, verse 22. So yes, you are absolutely right, Amy. We can't sit down and say, well, God said it, he'll do it. No. God said it, he'll do it if you work with him and you rise and you stand up for that which he blesses. And we are doing that today. And the Durban Conference has been something engineered, I believe, by the powers of darkness to once again, as I said, discredit, delegitimize, and dismantle the state of Israel. We have to do something.
And it's wonderful to see that it fizzled. This particular attack fell flat. It's not ineffective because it still bears out of it, thinkers and influencers who are against Israel, but it certainly lost most of its momentum, which is wonderful. It's a victory in the multitude of battles that we have ahead of us.
And I think primarily it's a victory because of the prayer that Christians throughout the world are offering every day on behalf of Israel. I don't think there's a nation on the face of the earth that is prayed for so much as Israel is prayed for all over the world by people who love her.
And it's a wonderful thing to be a part of that congregation of prayer warriors. So our viewers know that their prayers are very powerful and effective. And then their next step is often writing letters or who they vote for, or just speaking to their fellow citizens in their family, in their community, in their neighborhood, their schools, their children and their grandchildren, just to raise up the next generation of believers who see the truth of who and what Israel is, and the truth about what's attacking it and why.
Exactly. And as you say, it's the old story, use your sphere of influence. Exactly. That's all that God requires from you. Be salt and light all the time,
And no truer words can be spoken. So, Malcolm, thank you so much for sharing your expertise and your knowledge on this topic. It is so valuable to us and our viewers to have more information, more tangible meat to pray upon, and insight as we talk to our friends and neighbors and community members. So I really appreciate your time, and I hope you have a very blessed September.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much, Amy. It's been a joy to share with you today, and God bless you.
God bless you. Thank you.
The Jerusalem Connection sincerely thanks Malcolm Hedding for his time and expertise to share his knowledge and wisdom with the supporters and network partners of our organization. Shavua Tov, and have a great week.